I was told to speak in English because we're a global company, and we want the world to see how wonderful the Warsaw conference is. I have a question before I go into anything else. Have you ever worked together with a visionary? Raise your hands, please. Good. I just wish the whole room raised your hands, because you just had the chance to listen to him. I have worked and known Michael Milken. He has been a revolutionary on Wall Street, and he has changed the financial markets, allowing smaller companies to get financing in ways which were totally impossible before. That was the foundation that we keep building on. So I know for sure that Michael is also a visionary. He has all the elements, and the difference between him and Michael Milken may be because he's more aware of the regulations, the status quo, and he's smart enough wanting to work with it instead of working against it. How many of you are from Warsaw? How many of you are from the rest of Poland? How many of you are from Europe? And anybody from outside of Europe? Good. You're lucky guys. So let's go. Dzień dobry, Warszawo. Dzień dobry, Polsko. Hello, world. Hello, the new world. In Tokyo, I already told you there are 125 countries in the Dascoin ecosystem. Do you know that today we have 145, and the number is growing? So congratulations to you. This is all your work. So we already know you are absolutely amazing. If you want to know who I am a little bit more, there's some statistics or information that may be useful. But the most important thing is that I have worked with these two gentlemen. One of them is John Gutfreund, with whom I was passing many times on the trading floor of Salomon Brothers, which was the most powerful investment bank in the world at that time. And Walter Shipley was a CEO of a bank which now is called JP Morgan Chase. And notice, how different are they? Yeah, one is a lady, the other one is a black man. No. At that time, the world was very, very similar. Wherever you looked, the rules, the procedures, the chances were given to a very, very small percentage of people in the world. And you know what? You guys are changing that. But it's not an easy fight. Rafa has talked about how our brain is created. There's another very interesting piece of information. I don't know if you know it, but there are several elements of your brain which have been created at a different time of our evolution, and they're not connected. So the reason that we promise ourselves at New Year's Eve to do something and then we don't deliver even 3 days later is totally obvious. At some point of time, one part of your brain governs, at some other the other one, at some other still another one. So it's no wonder that even as individuals, we're not consistent. And as a society, it's very difficult. But in spite of that, in spite of the fact that the most basic instincts in a human being are either fear or aggression, it's the flight or fight reaction that we have. In spite of the fact that, like every single living creature on this planet, we always strive to save energy, and therefore use habits rather than innovation. Humanity has moved forward. And the most amazing thing is that given that we're smart enough to build on the foundations of previous generations, innovation is happening quicker and quicker. So 1,000 years ago, we built cities, city-states. Then we had the first industrial revolution, and a lot of people were very unhappy, and they were destroying machines, thinking they were their enemies, and not understanding that progress is actually good. Then there was electricity, massive trade, and then computers. But very few people in the world know that there were women working at these computers. Everybody was saying that if you see pictures with the first computers with the ladies there, they were put there to make the picture look better. That's not true. And now the most momentous moment. I don't know if you realize it, but we are in the middle of the fourth revolution. And you guys, as I said in Tokyo, are the revolutionaries. You make this happen. And the thing that made it possible was obviously the revolution of internet. Knowledge is available at any point of time, wherever we are. But still, if we want to wire money, if we want to get justice, if we want to play music, we have to go through intermediaries. Intermediaries that use their power to take advantage of us. When I worked for a commercial bank in the US, it was totally normal that if you sent a check and the check hit the bank had 3 days to send your money to the person you were sending the money to. And they were using that money for free. They were not paying your interest. They had the right to do it. It was all legal. But they were stealing. But the system made it legal. And then came the year 2008. You probably all remember. Here in Poland, it was relatively easy. But my friends in the US, they were heartbroken. Their system of values has collapsed. They stopped believing in anything around them. It was amazing to see how much they suffered. And what happened? We are a very ingenious species. So Satoshi Nakamoto has wrote his manifesto, and the rest is history. And you're part of that history. Now blockchain is giving us an ever-growing power. It's giving us distributed network, it's giving us public access. It's not allowing the system to be corrupted. It's majority-driven, it's encrypted. I don't know if you realize it, but this is the most important revolution of humanity. Because until now, there were few white men who governed the world. They were chosen. And nobody else could get access to power. Nobody else could get access to money. In the US, for example, if you wanted to invest in alternative assets, the system made it so that only 1% of people were able to do it, so-called accredited investors. Nobody else could, unless you were going through intermediaries that were charging you exorbitant fees. So was this a fair world? No, it wasn't. And again, now we are changing it. We now have digital passports. We have smart contracts. We do not need a lawyer. We do not need other people. We can just sign the contract between ourselves, and we know it's going to be there to be fulfilled. We can wire money. Ujo also allows people to send music, which is not going to be copied for free, which is going to respect the property of the creator of the music. We have actually started the Internet of Value, which allows the creators to be fairly paid for what they do and control the fate of their products and services. So blockchain has become the unifying, the enabling technology of trust. You already heard it, so we'll go through it very quickly. If you send the proper information within the network confirms everything is fine. If you try to cheat, the majority of people, because people are honest in their majority, will deny it. And the cheaters are not going to be able to win. So given that we will not experience 100 years of progress this century, but it will be more like 20,000 years at today's rate, and that rate is picking up every single minute, we need to realize that either we join this train, and that's a speed train already, or we're going to lose out. We're going to be extinct. We're going to stop mattering to the world. We're going to become the gun fodder for the smart ones, for the creative ones, for people like you. Because you're the ones who are going to govern the world, because you're smart enough to know that this is the way the world is going, and you're taking advantage of it. So what is the most common use of blockchain? I'm not going to tell you anything new. I'm the last speaker, so you already know it. Cryptocurrencies. What do they give us? They give us privacy. No bank controls what we're doing. It gives us transparency, a distributed network, and, as in the case of Bitcoin and many other cryptocurrencies, anonymity. So we have them: Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ripple, Ethereum, Litecoin. You know them all. But it hasn't been that easy. I don't know if you remember that, but Mt. Gox was a Bitcoin exchange which controlled 70% of the world volume. And then suddenly, they lost 850,000 Bitcoins. And they went bankrupt, and then they liquidated the company. There was another one, Silk Road, because the thieves and the bad people of the world have decided to use the anonymity given to them by Bitcoin, and they started selling drugs on Silk Road. Was it good? Is it good? No, because drugs are very bad and they lead to deaths of many, many people. But when you start something new, is it easy? When you were learning to walk, have you fallen down ever? Many times, haven't you? So whenever we start something totally new, it takes an effort. We make mistakes. That's how we learn. The left is Sergeant Garcia. This was the image of west part of the United States for me when I was a kid. Right now, Jeff Bezos. Seattle is actually the same agglomeration as the rest of Silicon Valley. This is a megalopolis. All these cities on the West Coast are interconnected. And Jeff Bezos, I met at the World Economic Forum in Davos, and he looked like Michael. At that time, he was telling a story how he started Amazon. He said he was wrapping up books on the floor, and one of his first employees said, "I have an innovation." And Jeff said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Let's take a table. You won't have to bend. You won't have to do it on your knees." And he says, and the productivity skyrocketed. We were wrapping many more books to be sent than before. That's how it starts. The beginnings always look very, very humble. But if you have a visionary at the helm of the company, you end up owning shares of Apple. Which one of you knows how much is Apple worth today? Is it $100 billion? Raise your hands if you think that that's how much it is. Is it $500 billion? Is it $900 billion? Good. It's around 850 right now. This is the most valuable company in the world. And I know that you've seen Steve Jobs, and if you look at the beginning, he had to learn how to speak on the stage. He was not easy to work with. Michael is a doll. So, like I said, the beginnings are always humble, but you have to be willing to be misunderstood if you're going to innovate. There's no other way, because if you are understood, that means you're not doing anything new. You're just following the status quo. So are we dreaming about the forbidden Bitcoin? Bitcoin being the symbol of all the cryptocurrencies? Are we dreaming about becoming wealthy, healthy, happy? Of course we are. And some people claim that only fiat currencies make sense and cryptocurrencies are all wrong. But I'm going to prove to you in a second that the world has already changed their mind. Just look at this chart. And you have seen it. But few people, even looking at the chart, realize the momentous change that has actually happened just over the last year. Look, the price has increased 10 times. Most of you know it already. But if you look at the volume, which means acceptance, which means number of people, institutions that actually trade Bitcoin, you will see that that has increased 35 times in just 1 year. If that continues with that kind of a growth next year and the year after, with Bitcoin and with other currencies, soon enough you won't even remember paper money. You'll think it's a funny thing. Like now we think about gold. Who would carry a piece of gold with them? It's so inconvenient. You're going to say the same thing about paper money in no time. You won't even remember that at some point of time somebody used such a useless thing. But the question is, given that progress is accelerating so incredibly quickly, that before we get adjusted to the new thing, there's one even better around the corner. What is going to be the next thing? Privacy? We need it. It has to stay. Transparency? You won't have trust without it. Distributed network? Of course. But there's one thing which is different, which is going to make the system really healthy, and Michael has talked about it. That is the lack of anonymity, the know your client. It's critical that we, in our network, make sure that everybody who is a participant is an honest person, is someone who's not going to use the network for something bad. We need to know that. So, just to make it very, very clear, the only thing that is constant is change. It's Heraclitus. Thousands of years ago, he's already noticed that. And I would like to add that it's an exponentially accelerating change and an aspiration for individual freedom and fulfillment. Because technology has allowed us to fulfill our aspirations, not to be cogs in somebody else's machines, but actually shape our future the way we want to, the way that will make us happy and will make people around us happy as well. Here is a man that didn't look like a visionary, but he was incredibly smart, and he single-handedly won a battle with a major empire. So please remember his words, because it's critical that you use that wisdom to build your prosperity and the prosperity of the companies you work with. Your beliefs become your thoughts. So if you believe in something which is great, you will have great thoughts. And then your thoughts will become your words, because that's how people express them. Then your words, if you really believe in them, will become your actions. And if you do it often enough, your actions will become your habit. And habits create values, our system of values, which is the most important thing if you want to do something which is going to matter in your life. And your values will become your destiny. So remember that. That's very, very important. Another thing I said when I was in Tokyo, also a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, and that is something for you to remember whenever they attack you and they say that Dascoin makes no sense and that Dascoin is just a scam or whatever. First, they ignore you. Then they laugh at you. Then they fight you. So we're already at the third stage, most probably, and then you win. Because the best method to predict the future is to create it, which is what you guys are doing here. And one last thought, very, very important. You will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks. So if you have to fight with people who say horrible things about what you do, ignore them. Just go forward, because our actions will prove them wrong. We don't need to waste time. And now I would like you to see another advertising of Apple, because I think that what they've been doing was an incredibly effective way of getting in touch with people. Rafał told you how important emotions are, and that's what Steve Jobs has done. He was playing on emotions, and that's why the company has become so incredibly important in the world. And maybe it's not a coincidence that the movie that Michael just showed you, in a way, depicted Poland. I think they even thought about it when they were creating it, because it was around the time when we toppled communism in Poland and in the Soviet bloc, which was a force which seemed to be immutable. This lady had Polish colors, red at the bottom, white on the top. Just think about it. I believe that Steve Jobs wanted to tell us something, even if it was subliminal. Thank you.